Thanks, Amanda. Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Fowler, and I am Vice President of Business Development at FBS. And I am talking to you today from my home office down in Alabama, where we are based. Fargo, of course, Flex is, of course, based in Fargo, North Dakota, but I joined the company 3 years ago through their first acquisition when they bought my company that was based in Huntsville, Alabama. And the reason that FBS bought my old company, Solid Earth, was because of the Spring consumer portal product, which we've just launched in Lansing for the Greater Lansing Association. And that's the screen I have here on our call today. It's lansing-realestate.com. And my goal today is to have a little chat with my friend Amanda and get any of your questions about the site. This is, I don't know, I guess we have done dozens of these now, and we can anticipate a lot of your questions, and I'm going to cover those real quick. I am eager to hear from the group, though, with any questions you might have. So we'll just dive in and talk about the site a little bit. This is a consumer facing website or portal. And when you go to lansing-realestate.com in your own browsers right now, you'll see this page that has a few different components on it, and we'll talk about these real quick. The navigation bar across the top of the screen has resources that are designed to answer questions of the general public. There are some things in here for you guys too. You see the dispute resolution, some ethics requirement related to core standards that are things that are required to be on the consumer portal or on the association's website. So you'll see those things across the top here in the nav bar, and those are these options again are for consumers. And when you log in as a member, and we're going to do that before we leave today, you'll see that you get a different set of resources up here. These are consumers. The ones that you see after you log in are specifically set up by the staff there in Lansing for you guys. As we scroll down the page a little bit, you'll see a very simple search tool that can be expanded. We're going to come back to that. You have a couple of call to action buttons here, upcoming open houses and new listings. Below those two CTAs, call to action buttons, you have a series of blog posts, and these are put in the system by the staff there in Lansing, and these are really very useful for search engine optimization and marketing to have current, pertinent, domain um, associated content on the landing page so that Google and other search engines can see them. You click through these to get to the blog posts. These are also role based. So when you log in as a member, you may see a different set of content here designed specifically for members. Down at the bottom, we've just got the footer with legal stuff. I'll do want to point out the member login button here at the bottom. We're going to use that in a minute. There's also a membership portal link here at the top that goes out to the Ramco resource. So you guys know about those things already. So I'm going to describe the search tool for a second, and you'll see this is left over from the last time I did a search. It remembers it just for convenience. If I click more options, you're going to see a search option, and it's really designed to be a mobile friendly way to get to the most searched things in the system for consumers. I'll point out here, this is all pretty self-explanatory, but I'll point out here that there is a down payment resource integration, which is really cool. Here on the landing page, you can restrict the search results to only those things that are DPR eligible. So that's kind of cool. And then if you execute that search, we're going to go to the second page that we're going to look at today. That was the landing page we're leaving. And we're now on search results, named for obvious reasons. And we've got 871 results that were active and DPR eligible. So that's kind of interesting. Across the top of the page, we have the search bar from the landing page has repeated and now lives here at the top of the page if you want to refine the search or do a different search. And then you'll see that the advanced search has shown up here in the left column, and it gives you the same options that you saw on the previous page adjacent to the search. It also includes a save search option, so you can save it so you can recall it later, and clearing the search criteria. You can scroll down that column and see it's basically the same one that you saw on the previous page. Um, as a note, really to Amanda, the Lansing staff has the ability to edit this list to really include whatever you guys might consider to be useful for consumer-facing searches. It's really flexible that way. Let's take a really short break. Amanda, do you have any questions, or did you have a question yet?
Nope, nothing yet, Matt.
Okay, cool. Just stop in there for a second to make sure you didn't. So you can see there's a sign up button here on the right, and there's a sign in or register button there at the very top. What we really want this site to accomplish, and the reason that we're doing this, is to connect a potential buyer who might be looking at maybe this house on West Wilbur Highway, and we want to connect that buyer with with this broker and their agents. So if I click through on this property, you're going to see the third page we're going to take a look at today. We started out at landing, went through search results, and now we're on what we refer to as the listing detail page, or the LDP, and it has a a block here in the upper right. I'm just going to point out here is one of the more important. It is we refer to this as the branding block, and it follows industry guidelines referred to as fair display guidelines. And you can learn more about that at fairdisplay.org. It's a set of internal rules that were written by the industry to maintain the intellectual property rights that belong to the brokers. And we have been in the industry for 40 years and really understand the importance of that relationship. So at the very top of the page, you're going to see the branding block. Below it, you'll see a contact form. And these two things work together, and they will always show the primary listing broker, the primary as designated by the broker listing agent or agents. This can be agent or co-agent. And the contact a listing form, when completed by a consumer, goes to the brokerage, and there is a routing tool built into the platform for the brokers to control exactly how that works. And Amanda has a resource that she's going to share with the brokers um, to describe exactly how that works. But I'll describe how it works in most markets, and the broker has the ability, again, to control that through the broker office settings. But at the very top of the page, we have Caldwell Banker Hubble, and if I click through on that, we're going to go to a company page, which shows the company's agents, contact information for all those guys. I'm going to click back and click on the agent's name. So now we're going to go out to the agent's profile page, and the agent's profile page is going to show their current actives. We'll also show upcoming open houses. It can also show recent sales if your MLS rules and regs allow for consumers to have access to sold listings. You'll also notice that big orange button, and I want to describe what that does. It's a key feature of the new Lansing-realestate.com site. So if a consumer lands on this page and they do want to know more about this rather unique looking house, they can fill out the contact a listing agent page. If they already know that they are interested in this house, or they know they want to work with Brianne, they click this work with this agent button, and when they do, they're required to log in. And if they don't have a login, there's a register option when they click this button that will ask them minimally for their first name, last name, and email address as the three required fields. And the next thing that happens is really interesting. The contacts information, the person asking the question or wanting to connect with Brianne, is written to the Flex MLS contact manager list inside FlexMLS. So you'll get an email that says you've got a new contact, and anything else that you have set up in FlexMLS to manage your contacts will happen after that as well if you're connected to a CRM or something. So work with this agent, creates an inbound buyer lead for Caldwell Banker formally, but at the broker's discretion, it goes to the listing agent, at least as the first contact. So that's what the LDP looks like, and we're going to scroll down the page and just point out some key features of it. We have a map option, we have get directions, obviously we have a big image that has all the photos. We have Facebook like and share, and then at the top we have a save this listing option that's going to save the listing to a shopping cart. We call them collections. And if the consumer is connected to Brianne and the consumer subsequently clicks save this listing, they give the shopping cart into which they're saving this listing a name, and the shopping cart, the collection name, the listings that are in the collection, when the collection was created, when the listings were saved to the collection, all of those data elements are visible to Brianne as the connected agent inside FlexMLS in the FlexMLS contact manager. So you don't even have to come out to this lansing-realestate.com site to be able to see the engagement metrics and the engagement activity of the consumers that are looking at this listing of yours through the Spring or lansing-realestate.com interface. So that was a lot. And that's really the core function of the site and the reason that it's there to connect this buyer to our broker member and their designated agents. So the form fill has a little Google I'm not a bot test that has to be filled out. And so I want the agents to know and the professionals on the call to know that when you get an inbound lead from lansing-realestate.com, it'll come to your MLS designated email address. When you see one of those, that's somebody who has come to the official website provided as a member benefit by the association, and they have been email verified. So when they create an account, we send an email out to their email address. They have to click on a button in that email in order to activate that account. So that means it has to be a real functional email address that is a real email verified lead. So those are important. Those are, that could be worth a pretty big commission. You want to set a rule in your email to watch for things that come from lansing-realestate.com. That is not spam. So we have blog posts repeated on the bottom of the page. We have a little bug that I've noticed, Amanda. You noticed that there were images that went with the blog post on the landing page, and I don't see them. They should be present in little thumbs to the left of these blog titles. I've already turned that in, so I know the guys are looking at it. You'll see little pictures here soon. Going down the page, we just have all the information about the listing. Interestingly, this is all pulled live out of the Spark API from FBS, and there's actually no data retained in the Lansing-Real Estate product. It's all coming live out of Spark, which means it's exactly the same that you see in Flex. Down at the bottom, you see that we have document links. So we're not logged in right now, so these are publicly available documents that are in the Flex document system for consumer access. If you're logged in, and we'll do that in just a second, these documents will be different, and they'll be documents for professional access. This is our neighborhood tool. So you can click there for information about neighborhood schools, community demographics, lots of other information about the area. I think this actually turns out to be very long. Yep, there's a lot there. And then a cool little tool that we've built in from a company called How Loud that shows you ambient noise. So this looks like it's well away from any commercial corridors and a quiet little neighborhood. Kind of neat. So that's what the listing detail page looks like. And we're going to shut that down and go back to the search results page, I want to show you a couple more things on the search results page, and then we're going to bail out of here and log in as a member so you can see what that looks like. So just really quickly, buttons across the top include the list button that we were on. Then we have the map option. And this is a cool OpenStreetMaps integration. So if you see an error on a map, you can actually vote for a change to it. And it works kind of like Wiki. The community votes to accept your edit, and it goes into the system live. It's really interesting. I'm going to let that screen refresh and then demonstrate that you can click on any of those little green boxes to get a little pop-up that's a thumbnail of the property with a save button that lets you stick it into a collection if you're logged in. There's a lot of listings on that map. 871 it says. Okay, we're gonna bail out of that and go to gallery and then to table. And the table lets you select all. So if you're wanting to put a whole zip code or a whole bunch of properties into a collection, it's probably the easiest way to do that instead of clicking the save button on each listing. I'm going to go back to gallery real quick and show you something that's really interesting. And it's the sort option. So it's pretty easy to understand how this works. Sort by highest price. It's going to refresh the screen and give us the most expensive listings. And then the drop down button to the right of the highest price feature option. And I guess these are the highest price ones that had DPR available. So we still had that on. But the photo sort is a new tool that's using an AI or artificial intelligence service that we've integrated into the lansing-realestate.com site. And it uses a technology called image tagging to describe what room is pictured in the image. And it works 95% of the time. So you're going to see photos of, if there is one, photos of the kitchen. So the screen is just refreshed and is showing you, it's like tabbed forward to the kitchen photo. It's really interesting in terms of the user interface, I think. Image tagging. You'll see that expanded out in the system in a bunch of different places coming soon. Okay, so we're going to go back to FlexMLS, and I'm going to log in as a member. And I'm going to click the login button. And this is how FBS staff accesses your system. So I'm going to do this real quick, and then we're going to log in as Amanda. And I'm starting out here in Northeast Florida. Sorry, I was doing some work in Jacksonville a moment ago. So we're going to go to your site. I'm going to get all logged in.
Hey,
And this
Matt,
is how, go ahead, Amanda.
I'm sorry, I just need to backtrack for a second. That feature that you showed us where you can search by the photo and the type, is that
Yeah.
only if the picture is labeled as that in the MLS, or is that powered by AI?
It's powered by AI. We're not actually looking at the MLS room label. We send the photos out to a service, and the service returns a tag. We store the tag in the database, and we sort by that tag.
Got it. Thank you.
And of course, it's kind of interesting. And if you look at the newest listings, those have not been processed sometimes if you sort by newest, and you have to wait a second for the images to be tagged. It's a really popular feature. When we look at heat maps on the page, we find that people use it a good bit. Cool. So I'm going to bounce back over to login, and I'm here logged in as Amanda. And what I'm going to do, and this is how we probably recommend you guys access Spring if you need to. The brokers will need to set up the office settings. Most people will continue to use the contact manager to deal with people that came in through Spring. But if you need to log into Spring, you certainly can. Our recommendation is that you log into Flex first, and we demo how to do that. And then down at the bottom, we have our member login button that we talked about at the top of the call. And what's going to happen very simply is the screen's just refreshed. And now we're Amanda, and see Amanda's picture in there. And under Amanda's name, you see that there's three options. If you're logged in as a consumer, you only have settings and log out. But if you're logged in as a member or a staff person like Amanda, you'll have a dashboard option. Before I get to the dashboard, I'm also going to point out a couple of things. You'll notice that the search options have changed. So there are some things that are labeled pro, and that means you're logged in as a member or a professional, and things that are labeled pro are uh, are added to the user interface to reveal data that's only available to realtors when they're logged in, or search options that might only be available when you're logged in. You'll see this is the internal description. We have a few other things on the page that are pro only. Some of the details won't show unless you're pro. Those documents that I referred to earlier are only available if you're logged in as a member. So there are several things that change on the form and on the search experience based on your login level. We're going to bounce over to dashboard here real quick and demonstrate the back end of the system. This is Amanda's version. So there's some site setup stuff over here, content that you won't see. And there's also a little preview here for the brokers, a office settings tab. And I'm just going to describe these super briefly so that everybody will be aware of how the lead routing tool works. I think this is valuable even in a general conversation. So the listings, the leads that come in off of the listing detail pages that we've just demonstrated earlier go directly to the listing agent, and nothing happens after that. By default, at installation, the way it's working right now is that no actions occur if the listing agent receives the inquiry and never opens it. So if the broker would like for there to be a backup to the listing agent answering that email, they can provide a backup by saying, let's wait a half an hour by putting 0.5 in that box. And if the listing agent hasn't responded within a half an hour, then share that inbound inquiry on that particular property with the listing agent's colleagues in this office. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. So it would sit in their inbox for a half an hour, and if they don't answer it at 30 minutes and a second, it goes into a group inbox where the broker can designate someone in the office to keep an eye on that inbox for new leads that weren't answered quickly enough by the listing agent. If you, we're going to stop for questions after I get to this page. You can archive leads after a certain number of days. If you just don't want to see things that no one's touched in over a week, you can do that. If you want to restrict the number of inbound inquiries that a listing agent's colleague can retrieve from the group box, you can do that too by saying when they claim one, this is somebody asking a question that wasn't picked up by the listing agent, they can only do 1 an hour or 4 an hour by saying they have to wait 15 minutes. That's just to prevent someone from coming into the office on Monday morning and clicking yet accept to 40 leads in the queue. If you just leave that empty, then they can claim whatever they want. If you're a broker who has maybe a more sophisticated CRM platform and you don't want to participate in this lead routing thing that I just described, you can just override it entirely. And if you're working with, a company like Boomtown, maybe they're going to give you an email address, something like that, and you'll then we'll send all the inbound inquiries that we just described out to that address, and that's an email parser, so that the CRM or the platform that you're using will pick the information it needs out of the email and put it into their system, uh, thereby overriding the lead management system in our platform. If you also want to um, send the email alert to an assistant, I know that brokers aren't sometimes the people who actually operate their accounts. They have an assistant or an employee to do that. Then you can put assistant at yourname.com in that spot, and they'll get an alert when there are leads in your box that haven't been answered. And then below there, we have another, what we consider to be a member empowerment tool. We don't want this site to compete with anybody. We're trying to push them to your own platform and to push those leads into your own contact management list. If you want to put a button on the website as the broker to link to the broker's website, you can do that by specifying that in this URL, and I'll cover that deeper in another piece of content. You can also exclude agents that are maybe on leave or uh, away, or maybe they're rental specialists or commercial people that shouldn't have access to that lead pool I was talking about. You can exclude people from that list. A few other broker settings here that we'll cover in a separate recording we'll do. But I do want to cover, before we leave the dashboard, the lead pools. So when an inquiry comes in, it's going to be written over to FlexMLS, so you don't have to come out here to do this. But if you log into Spring, you'll see the inbound leads that are coming in on your own listings. And then if you have access through your broker to the office leads tab, then this is where leads that have come in to an office listing but have not been answered by the listing agent within the broker specified amount of time would show up in this particular list, and you would claim them with a claim button. When you claim them, they go into your lead management list, and you can see what they look like. And if someone has pushed the orange button and connected to you to work with this agent, they'll show up in your prospects list. And this list is the same list that you'll see in the FlexMLS contact management box back inside Flex. So that's a very rapid tour through the new Lansing-realestate.com site, but we covered the specific bits that I wanted to cover. So I want to stop now and see if you guys have any questions. I know that lead bit was particularly intricate and generally generates some questions about routing. Our goal with that is to make it as flexible as possible and to do whatever a broker in their own business arrangement would want to have happen. I think we covered that, if not internally, at least with the override. What do you think, Amanda? Did you come up with a question during that?
Nope, I'm not seeing any questions come through. If you have one, please throw it up in the Q&A, and we will throw it over to Matt.
Cool. I guess while we're waiting, I'll just if I can here, bounce out to I'll just log out. I want to go show you where you can get some more information about the Spring platform, about Lansing-realestate.com, and the other places around the country um, where this same platform is running. I think it's kind of fun sometimes to see what other people have done with the platform. This just was launched super recently, so there hasn't been there are features on the site that we haven't installed yet. This is our new site in Maine at mainlistings.com. You can see it looks a lot like yours. We also have a site in Dallas. It's dfwrealestate.com, and they've got an interesting search engine optimization tool here right in the middle of the page that we will be talking to Amanda and the leadership team there in Lansing about in the future. These are the most popular, and that means most clicked cities within each of the primary counties in the Dallas metro area. So we're keeping track of how many times a particular home has been viewed, and then we're adding up all those views at the city level and then sorting them so that when Google comes by this page, they get links to literally thousands of recently updated uh, links. So it really improves the search engine optimization. Below that, we have an integrated YouTube integration or YouTube video. So they've made a promotional consumer-facing video, and it can be inserted on the landing page like you see there. The most popular site in our whole network is probably the New England Real Estate Network, or NAREN.com, and you see they've got one of those search engine optimization panels in the middle that include the cities with the most popular starter homes, as they describe them, listed between 2 and 250. Another fun idea maybe to think about for your area. Waterfront properties as well. You can see these are the cities that contain the most popular properties in New Hampshire, and the state of these two are statewide. And then they wanted to pull out the individual properties that were waterfront and had the most clicks on them. So 506 North Hill Road in Stowe is the most popular in terms of consumer clicks and waterfront, and $10 million. Okay, well, no wonder it's popular. Huh. So that's why it's fun knocking around with the other sites. You guys have some really interesting properties too in the Lansing Metro.
Well, thank you so
So
much for your time, Matt. I don't see any questions coming through, so I think that we
cool.
can wrap up. And like I said earlier, this session was recorded, so we will share that back onto our Facebook group if you guys need a refresher, if you want to share it with others in your offices. But Matt, thank you for your time and your expertise today. And to the agents on, let's get some real estate sold, huh? Happy back to work day. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. See you guys.